Is that it, Amber? We're gonna go over the changes in the operational
Yeah,
first
start with that, and then updates to the business case.
for the heavy duty
Yeah.
and then capital.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, looks like we're ready to roll. So Amber, it's your show for a few minutes here, then pass it along as you need to.
Great, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Council. Tonight we'll start with a recap of some of the changes made out of discussions last night. We have an update to the business case for an operator / mechanic, and then we'll head straight into the capital budget for 2024. So the primary change made to the 2024 budget is in the council expenditure section. We added funds for the FCM conference that is taking place in Calgary in 2024, making assumption that all 7 council members would be interested in attending that function. So including the registration and then potentially mileage and travel and lodging and stuff like that.
And the CAO too. We should
Right,
add
that would,
in there.
okay, well, that should
fund-
be in administration
in the admin
budget. Yeah, and I think there's adequate room in there for that. So I think we'll be
Mhm.
okay.
Perfect.
Great. So the only true impact, that was about a $15,000 additional expense. And it just, it reduced the amount of the reserve transfer by an equal amount. So that's the offset.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's a few things that I noted last night going through the presentation. It doesn't seem to matter how many times you look at it. When you see it in a different light, you pick up things. So there's a few little minor, grammar or formatting issues and a couple figures in the 2025 and 6 years that I adjusted, but they don't have they have a positive impact, reducing some expenses that I noticed
Yeah.
So,
And that's okay, because I think it's the only time that council will be looking at this.
right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's lovely. Next, we'll, Meryl, do you want to start with the business case?
I sure do. Good evening, Council. I'm providing you the supplemental information that you was requested last evening regarding the 2024 business case for the heavy duty Red Seal mechanic operator. So we revisited the benefits, and I'm just going to go through that before we talk about some of the cost savings and the overtime that was requested. So the benefits of a heavy duty mechanic Red Seal certified on site is to troubleshoot and, in a majority of cases, repair equipment to ensure timely return to full operation. Additional heavy-duty mechanic operator will support the department in minimizing service delivery delays. The biggest impact of this position would be the reduction of shop and labor charges for all town departments, being the arena, fire hall, parks, peace officer, and operations, when equipment fails or requires regular maintenance. It will also allow the operations to utilize this employee as an operator and deploy all equipment at one time without using employees from other departments. The costs saved with an in-house Red Seal mechanic operator over all departments. So based on sample data, 40% of the vehicle equipment repair and maintenance expenditures are labor costs. So $23,750 of $58,531. If we were to project that to a portion of all repair and maintenance budget, approximately 60%, that would equate savings in the range of $65,000 across the organization. So 2024 repair and maintenance budget across all departments is set for $273,000, 60% of the above, since not all repair requires labor. Purchase parts, 163,800. So 40% of repair and maintenance associated with labor is estimated to be 65,520. With the overtime, operation staff work at a 40-hour work week from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday. The staffing levels for 2022-23 was 1 foreman and 3 operators. The overtime in 2022 was 78.50 hours, equating to 3,972.46 paid out. For 2023, it was 101.5 hours, equating to $4,825.16 paid out. With the overtime, based on what the town has seen for overtime over the last 2 years, the new position would not impact the overtime accumulated. The most common cause of overtime is weekend rounds and the result of emergent situations such as water breaks, snow removal, lift station issues, etc. In addition, for specific events such as the parade, the operations department is required to work overtime for road closures and directing traffic, etc. Operations is responsible for 36 roads, including Road 12, Township Road 284A, and Western Drive. Each time there is a snowfall, the snow clearing priorities reset as per the snow clearing policy. New roads that will be the responsibility of the town following the final acceptance certificate process in new subdivisions. Vista Crossing Phase 2, that'll be this year. Iron Landing Phase 4, 2024. And Vista Crossing Phase 4 will come online in 2024. It approximately takes 21 days to remove snow within the community following a snow event, should there be no mechanical failures or another snow event. When new roads come into become the responsibility of the town, the amount of time increases to approximately 25 days. And we did provide, where is it? You have it right there. Thank you. So with the departure of an experienced lead hand in the operations department and the addition of an operator one, payroll costs have been reduced. The differential between the lead hand and the operator one position equates to approximately $28,636. So if we look at it overall, the wages anticipated for the new position is estimated at $80,000, plus the benefits, pension, employer related costs, training, safety clothing, uniforms, safety equipment, cell phones, IT support, and take away the organization-wide labor and shop cost savings of $5,520 and the additional payroll cost savings, as we had explained above. The total additional payroll costs are anticipated to be $10,258 for this new position.
Thanks, Meryl.
You're welcome.
Questions for Meryl?
To the chair.
Councillor Knight.
Is the 21-day and 25-day time to do the snow, is that due to the fact that we're taking 2 days off for weekends, or how does that 21 days occur? Like, do we work 21 days straight, or is that it's 21 days from the snowfall activity to the end of it?
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Murray to answer that question.
Yep, fair question. 21 days is the accumulated time that it takes. So working 5 days a week with no breakdowns or anything like that, with the equipment that we currently have, not contracting out any outsourcing for extra trucks, we can clear on the town in 21 days. There's still the variables of the amount of snow. If it's not a heavy snowfall, we can shorten that. If it's a heavy snowfall, it could lengthen it. The 25 days, we're taking into account the new roads that will come up in Vista and Iron Landing. That'll take us that much longer. Some of the occurrences that we have with the cul-de-sacs, it takes us a little bit longer to do some of those. The smaller roads make it a little bit challenging. So our speeds are actually slowing down in those times too. So hopefully that clears up.
It does give me an answer. I just got a second question to that. So that is like the snow going on from the street. That isn't necessarily to break the ground of the town, like to go around all the streets and do the outside rounds of the town is available to travel, right? When I say that, like there's a difference of snow removal and clearing and then being down all the streets, at least one pass with the grader.
Correct. That's clearing the town. 21 days to, we can make the streets passable.
And how long do you think?
The priority routes?
Priority routes, would it be 5 days, 6 days to make sure that the town kind of, we went everything once? Is there like an estimate? That you have on
So priority 1 and priority 2s, we could have them done probably within about 7 days. So like a week and a couple days is next, the following week. So that makes our priority routes passable. in a heavy snow to make the roads passable, we would have probably, if it's a heavy snowfall, in order to us to worry about that, yeah, it would take probably up to 2 weeks to do that. And that would just be, that wouldn't even be getting into the community. That would actually be just doing the connector roads and the priority routes.
And our limitation on what we have for equipment, is that due to the fact we can't, because the blower works pretty fast. We just can't keep enough trucks in front of the blower to keep moving fast enough.
That's correct. Yep. So right now, we use our plow truck as well for, if we're not sanding, that's the sanding truck. We'll use that as well in our 1 ton. It's a little bit manpower dependent, so we will we'll utilize the manpower that we have, but we have that when we have a heavy snowfall. In the past, we've contracted it out a few years ago up to as many as 3 or 4 extra trucks.
Yep.
So
The only thing I might add to that on the last question is, if we ever take the math on the amount of labor and hours it requires to do over 25 days and compare that to contracting for 5 days, I'd like to see the number. I'd like to, someone in your budgeting down the road or whatever, doing some comparisons of, hey, this is what it costs. We can get it done 5 days earlier, but we can't, leveraging the labor hours that we're paying versus the contracts, because it might get closer than you think. Does that make sense?
yeah, if I'm understanding correctly, so I just had conversation with Didsbury. They claim that they do their town in seven days.
Mhm.
But they contract out 5 extra trucks.
Yeah.
So they're working with 6 full-size tandem axle vehicles. We have never had that option. I mean, it's certainly a possibility. And yes, we're limited to a little bit by the grader activity, because the grader has to stay ahead of everybody. So if we can keep the grader going, yeah, we can accomplish a lot and equip with the amount of equipment that.
More of a future budgeting conversation, just something to think forward
Mhm.
about what we can look at to try to speed that number up.
Thanks, Counselor Knight. I had the same question, so thanks for covering that. My question is, the Red Seal mechanic, does he bring his own tools or do we have the tools?
The Red Seal would bring their own equipment.
Okay, and that's
And
at no
tools.
cost to us. That
That's
just
right.
comes with his employment.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's excellent. And that is all I had. But I do agree with Counselor Knight on, let's start thinking about what's the best option for the town and present that. We want the best option for you guys and we want the best option for us in the most economical way.
Can I just add, Didsbury also works 12 to 14-hour shifts during that time frame. So there is that incurred overtime cost along with the contracted equipment.
Mhm.
So just to throw that,
Yeah.
make sure everyone understands that.
Excellent, thank you.
I think we had one more request last night for more information on the Kubota lease. And
Yes, I can speak to
Russ will
that.
provide a
Yeah.
brief update on that.
Okay,
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, council. I don't have a formal or a written update just yet. I was waiting for some updated information to come back from Kubota. I did get it actually just before the meeting here, but I haven't had a chance to really review it much. So
you can send it to us.
I'd rather send it in
Yeah.
a full package. That's why I didn't provide anything just yet. And then I guess maybe while I'm speaking and to Counselor Knight, so you were the one who requested the extra information regarding the leases. So I've gathered, well, we had the 3-year lease term. I've now just recently got the 5-year lease term. And then you had mentioned something about the purchasing the existing equipment. And so can I just get a little bit of clarification on what you're looking for
Well, what I'm looking for is
from that
so we
part?
we can forecast a 3-year and 5-year amounts of what the leases cost. Now, what equipment do we own right now that we could potentially buy that would eliminate that 5-year lease? Let's say we have I'll call it I'll call this the lawnmower. We're sending back a lawnmower that works perfectly fine. It doesn't have a massive amount of hours. We now have a mechanic. They can fix this. What does that look like for because typically when you send leases back, you have the opportunity to purchase or buy that piece of equipment back out.
We do, yes. And
So-
the residual value on that is this, I believe it. 72,633.52.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So-
just put together in that same report, Russ.
Okay,
Just put together what that would look like to buy, what you think, like, when we can't buy all, of it, but here's an idea, here's a plan B saying we would buy 1 or 2 pieces of equipment instead of leasing all this.
Mhm.
And then we work to try to grow the fleet that we have and try to not always be on 5-year leases, try to run it for 3 or 5 years, own it for 3 or 4, offboard it, kind of keep a shuffle going the whole thing. Maybe we can kind of grow our fleet too if we have a good mechanic here.
In addition to that, I'm curious because I just don't know the answer is, when we lease something, is it our responsibility to fix it? Or do they fix it?
they fix it.
So then we don't have the mechanical costs either.
Unless we
So
break
we,
it.
Yeah, I guess I should clarify that. Yes, depending on what we do
what
to
you
it.
break. Yeah.
If it's a manufacturer's problem,
Mhm.
they fix it. If it's something, whatever, we
Like
ran it into
Kevin
a-
ran into a telephone pole or
Yeah.
something.
then we're responsible for that.
Oh,
obviously. So if we dumped the oil out of the engine and then tried to run it without oil in it, that's our fault.
Hmm.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And you know, how often, like, does the warranty stuff happen?
Yeah, after it,
Not often. So it's usually our fault.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I sent it, sorry, through the chair.
Yes.
I sent back 2 Kubotas this year for warranty work on their doors.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't open. So that was at their cost. I had to buy the part, which was $3, but they had to do the labor and come out here and do the
And
work.
that was $300.
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Good to know.
and I missed that poll by that much.
Did you? That's good. Thanks for missing the poll.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. We'll update that.
Thanks, Russ. Okay, on to capital, I guess, see?
Great, thank you very much. So the main purpose of our meeting tonight is to discuss the 2024 to 2028 capital budget. Obviously, we'll be looking later on this year for approval of the 2024 capital budget, but we have the other 4 years available in our plan, just so that you can see some of the for future plans that are coming down the pipe with regard to capital. So we'll get started. The summary on page 3 lists in order of priority and our perceived priority, the projects that administration recommends to proceed with in 2024. We're looking at a total capital envelope of $431,750. Pardon me. And we'll go through each of those projects one by one. We also, aside from one-time projects, we also have annual capital projects. So these are capital projects that you would see on an annual basis, kind of taking care of life cycling issues in regards to linear assets, and then some of the water and solid waste assets that we purchased also. So in the chart below the table on page 3, it breaks down our capital plan by type of asset. And the largest piece of the pie tonight is on infrastructure improvements, followed by equipment replacement, fleet equipment replacement, community enhancements in there also, and a small piece of the pie dedicated to building maintenance.
Amber, I'm sorry, just before you go forward, I just have a question on the overall budget. So let's take the capital one, for example. With what is proposed here today, do we anticipate that we will be raising taxes, or it's we've budgeted exactly what we need?
Okay, that's a very good question. So capital the capital budget does not impact the tax base. Capital
Okay,
projects are funded through means such as grants and our capital reserves, which the reserve transfers do form a part of our operating budget. But what we do is we set those funds aside for use on these capital long-term projects or assets that will serve the town for years to come.
okay. So everything in here we can afford is what you're telling me.
As soon as we flip the page, we'll see how the funding is proposed. So
Okay.
yes,
And my secondary question would be, as far as reserves go, we've only been doing reserves like for 2 years.
Yeah.
So are we already depleting our reserves or?
well, reserves it's more like a two-step. You're putting more in than we're taking out, and we are putting 1,162,000, I believe, into reserves this year. But we do have existing reserves. Fortunately, I'm hoping to bring a reserve policy to council at the first meeting in November, possibly the second, because I would like our new CEO, it will be the second, because I would like our new CEO to review the reserve policy before it comes forward.
Mhm.
So then you'll have a better sense prior to approving anything where we stand with our reserve funds. And just so you know, whatever is in reserves is money in the bank.
Okay, great. Sorry, one last question. So we have a 3-year operating budget, which we have to do
Yes.
as legislated.
Yep.
And we just have the 1-year capital.
Well, it's a
budget.
5-year. You got to be patient and get there.
Well, I guess, when I get it at 5 o'clock, I don't have time to read it all.
I know it's totally fair, but I promise you that what we
Okay.
have here is meeting all of our legislative requirements as far as our capital plan, financial planning in regards to operations and capital.
I'm sure you have covered that. Thank you.
We're trying real hard to be good fiscal stewards. Okay. So funding sources. So there's many ways to fund. Well, there are a few ways to fund capital. There are various grants that are out there that we have Nicole on staff, and she does an excellent job of grant writing, and we've been successful at getting several operating grants, and she helped with the CFEP grant, I believe. So she's, done well for that. So we're thankful for her and her grant writing abilities. The Canada Community Building Fund is the old federal gas tax, I guess. So that's federal money that we get around $210,000 a year. And I believe that program's in place. I could be wrong, but I've been told that until 2029, but don't quote me on it. But Joe's shaking her head, so I feel like I got a thumbs up over there. So thanks. The one kind of murky area in capital funding is the local government fiscal framework. So that's a replacement for MSI, and it's starting in 2024, and we've yet to receive a funding formula or real framework, unless you guys know something I don't, but that nothing's been announced yet as far as what that looks like. Although the rumor has it, it looks less than it did before. So that's a little uncertain.
That part is true.
Yeah, I'm making an assumption that we'll get the same amount, but time will tell. Fingers crossed things for good things. So next is obviously our capital reserves. And again, I'm going to be very happy to bring that reserve policy to you folks in a month's time or so that we can see exactly where our savings are and what we're saving for. Have a proper strategy for that. Offsite levies are another way to fund capital projects so long as they qualify for offsite levy spending. So there's certain projects that are applicable to that funding pool and others are not. There are a couple other grants that we've applied for. The Alberta Blue Cross Built Together grant we've applied for again this year. We were denied in 2023, but we've applied again for 2024. And if we get the grant money, then we would go ahead with that project. But if not, the project will not move forward. And finally, there's strategic transportation infrastructure program. I found a little typo. The STIP grant, and that's something that we're applying for asphalt overlays. However, the status is pending on that one also. So on page 5, we go through the projects and their budget, and then it shows how the funding summary, I guess, of our capital program. And I thought it was quite I don't know if it's good or not, but that all of our annual projects are funded through the MSI and the CCBF. Oh my God. It's been a long couple days, pardon me.
Acronyms.
Funding. So I think, I don't know if that's good or not, but I thought it was kind of interesting, and that way it's predictable, if maybe that's a funding formula will carry on in the future. So here we have a 5-year plan laid out with by operating department on page 6 and 7. Kind of walks through the next 5 years, like what projects are planned in those various departments. Of course, the 2024 year is the year that'll get approved, and the out years are more forecast and could potentially change. So that's more of a summary. I think we won't spend, and then on page 8, pardon me, the fleet replacement program is outlined there. So it shows over the next 5 years which equipment would need to be purchased or replaced. So without further ado, I'm going to let each respective director speak to their capital projects, and if they have to bring in any of the supporting cast, then we'll let them take care of that.
Great. Well, if we're going to be going down the line, it looks like we're up first. Are we just going to kind of go through one at a time and then ask the questions if there's questions?
Yeah. Yes, I think as each project is introduced, if council has any questions, please feel free.
All right. So the first project here is to replace the fire engine 155. So due to the aging fire department's fleet, a fleet plan has been created for the department's heavy duty apparatus. So that includes engines, aerial, tender, and rescue unit, which have a life cycle of 25 years from the manufacture date. Our current engine configuration includes both a primary, which is engine 154, and a secondary engine 155, as well as a primary aerial unit, which photos are below so you can see which units we're talking about. This apparatus configuration meets the needs of the department for the ability to maintain effective response for both the town's jurisdiction and the agreements with our neighboring municipalities. It is the purpose of this project to ensure that the fire department's fleet maintains this effective, efficient response capability while remaining in compliance with current industry standards and recommendations. In the recent review conducted by Seahawk Consulting, it was recommended that the fire department fleet be reviewed for potential efficiencies. After a review by Fire Chief Messner, there was a potential efficiency found immediately as it relates to this replacement project. It is recommended that the town accept this capital budget request to purchase a second-hand 5-year-old combination fire engine and aerial unit called a Quint. This type of unit is an extremely effective apparatus for a fire department like ours due to combining 2 apparatus into one. This provides numerous advantages, including provides the 5 primary apparatus functions of both an engine and an aerial. So it has an adequate onboard water tank, carries the required hoses for an attack engine, holds the required ground ladders, has an onboard pump, and has an aerial ladder. It would allow the department to retire the existing aging aerial unit with newer technology. There'd be less annual maintenance requirements due to alleviating 1 unit out of the department's fleet. The single unit is versatile in its strategic fire operations abilities, and there'd be a decrease in future capital expenditure by not having to replace a separate engine and a separate aerial unit. Although this recommended unit is 5 years of age, it will still provide service to the community for another 20 years, 15 as the front line and 5 as the second line. It should be noted that this apparatus, if purchased new today, would cost approximately $1.7 to $2.2 million. To have the ability to bring this type of apparatus into the fire department's fleet at the cost prescribed in this request is of incredible value, taking cost over time into account. It is recognized that this is still a large expenditure request at $900,000, but there are options to allow for a more cost-effective procurement of this unit. In speaking with a supplier of fire apparatus, the following lease-to-own information was obtained. So leasing options include 5, 7, and 10-year terms with a flexible buyout. Based on a 10% interest rate and a $1 buyout at the end of the term, the following payments are estimated to be, which don't include any applicable taxes. On a 5-year term, $198,000 per year, 7-year term, $141,429 per year, and on a 10-year term, $99,000 per year. Some of the longer standing warranties on items such as the onboard water tank and doors are transferable. And there's also the opportunity to purchase extended warranty to cover more of the operating systems on these units, which can be explored at the time of procurement. Also of note is the opportunity to generate some revenue through the sale of the existing engine and aerial units to help to offset some of the cost for the new unit. Through research online of available units of similar age, condition, mileage, pump hours, and onboard equipment, it is estimated that we could receive approximately $50,000 to $75,000 through the sale of both units. And this is a combined amount, not individual. Unfortunately, both the engine and aerial are of an age that is difficult to sell or receive much in return because of expiring ULC ratings. Lastly, by decreasing the fleet by 1 piece of equipment, we will also realize some decreases in annual maintenance and insurance costs estimated between $2,000 and $4,000 per year. So a couple options available to us here. Option number 1, which would be recommended, is to purchase the Quint apparatus as noted in this request on a lease to own program to ease the initial financial impact of this expenditure and spread it out over time. This would allow us to increase efficiencies in operations and will remain in line with recommendations from the Seahawk Review to streamline vehicles and apparatus. So as noted here, it would be $198,000 per year from years 2024 to 2028. And obviously the cost and type of apparatus is dependent upon stock and availability of secondhand fire trucks, which has become more difficult to find over the years. And then option number 2 is to replace the aging engine with another secondhand engine at a lower cost. Although this may allow for a lower capital expenditure, it would not result in a reduction of our fleet or improve efficiencies and would not be in line with the recommendations from the review. It will also leave us with an aging aerial unit. Additionally, if this option is selected, it is recommended to go with a newer secondhand engine to allow for a longer life expectancy and cycle within the department's fleet. And it is estimated that the cost for that would be around the $500,000 mark. With that, I just thought because it didn't actually get touched on in this write-up, but I just thought it might be beneficial for Chief Messner just to touch on the insurance, the FUS ratings. I think that's important for council to know as well.
Okay. Council members through the chair. So for insurance ratings within communities, insurance companies many times take a look at what's called the Fire Underwriter Survey. What that consists of is taking a look at towns and communities in terms of water supplies, their fire department, members of the fire department, their fleet. And what happens is they give the towns and the municipalities a grading based on what is supplied within the town. So with this, what is found in FUS when it comes to vehicles, anything over 30 years does not count towards any FUS ratings whatsoever. So really with, as it stands right now, our aerial is coming up to that 30 years. And it has been identified through the review as well as it is important for an aerial apparatus within this type of community for the main reason of heights of buildings, the industrial area that we do have, especially with companies such as Plastifab. That a FUS rate, that those FUS ratings are important for an aerial apparatus.
And I think I just also like to maybe just add quickly to that too. So what that FUS rating impacts every homeowner within Crossfield, because it's what their insurance costs are based on. So it's important for us to maintain our fleet to also ensure insurance ratings are kept in line and in check. So, I guess with that, questions?
So Russ, that 5-year term at $198,000, that's $990,000, but does that include the interest rate that we would be paying
I
over
believe,
that time?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it includes.
Good answer.
It includes that, yes. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, sure.
Counselor Knight?
This is probably to Fire Chief Messner is, so 154 is primary, 155 is secondary, and the aerial truck. Do we have a number or name for that, just so we clearly understand what 3 pieces of equipment we're talking about?
Let's see.
Through the chair, if I may. Yeah, Councilor Knight. So basically engine 154 is our primary engine. Engine 155 is our secondary or backline engine. And aerial 154 is right now what I would call our primary aerial.
That's the one you want to retire.
Yeah.
Engine 155 is the one that I would like to, that needs to be retired. At the same time, for efficiencies and to maintain FUS ratings as well, is combine those 2 trucks, aerial 154 and engine 155 into one truck.
Okay, thanks. I was kind of confused on what we were talking there. So we do have a joint use agreement. Or is that, what are our agreements called?
Mutual aid.
Mutual, yeah. Our mutual agreements, have we ever used the aerial truck very often in this town?
Yes, well, we've used it on a couple of calls. So any confirmed structure fire, the fire we had on Alberta Street, aerial made a huge difference that we could attack it from overhead. It's a great resource for the town to have a tower or aerial. You know, even you think aerial, it's more for secondary big structures, even residential fires. We had our aerial in Fort Mac. It was great. We could get above, put a curtain on the neighboring houses. It's, you know, it is very seldom used, but it's kind of the one piece of equipment I put on a priority list.
They're combined. Sorry.
Okay, so the response time from other regions and areas that have aerials, Carstairs, Airdrie, what's the response time that we typically would look at for them to get one of their wheels here? If available, which we have to also consider.
Through the chair, if I may. Yeah, Councilor Knight, of course, they're 10 minutes away. So they have Airdrie has manned stations. So it would be fairly reasonable in time, I would say probably within, that 15-minute time frame. Carstairs, of course, they are a paid on-call department, so they would require time to gather resources and so on. But again, they're 10 minutes away, 10-minute drive away as well.
Because there is a cost to obviously have them, then we pay them back. I'm just trying to crunch numbers. So if we didn't do the aerial, what would our payments be on just a new replacement truck for 154 without the aerial?
It's through the chair, if I may. Councilor, I have put down $500,000 to for a replacement engine only without the replacement of the aerial. Those types of trucks that are coming out today that are secondhand, due to the economic climate that it is, those are getting snatched up pretty quick. So what I've been able to find in research right now is fairly old trucks. We're talking maybe with a possible 5-year lifespan within our fleet. And that would be within probably, I would say around that $75,000, $50,000, $75,000 range.
I don't know if I'm really communicating it right. I'm not looking to replace it with an older one. If we just bought a replacement. So when we say an engine and we say it's the replacement for 155, is it right? Right?
Correct, yes.
When we say that, like if we just bought and this $200,000 a year, that's not for a new one. Is that what we're saying?
That's correct. It's for a 5-year-old unit.
Yeah. But we're not able to find a 5-year-old unit of a similar range that doesn't have an aerial. Is that what we're kind of saying? They're too hard to find.
It's very tough to find. Councilor Knight, yes.
The new one's worth what, 2.3, 2.7?
So if we're, so just to confirm, we're talking about strictly an engine or a pumper. So that way we would be looking at, it depends if we go with, there's two types, commercial or a custom chassis. Commercial chassis which is what we have in our fleet right now. We would be upwards towards probably almost $1 million just for that right now, brand new.
Yep.
And with that being said, too, is depending on what kind of unit we do get brand new, we could be looking at a potential 1 to 2 year build time.
Okay.
But that's why they put the rotation. Yeah.
I thought in the presentation we see, they kind of mentioned we didn't use the aerial, was kind of why I'm coming back to the question. That's more of a comment, not a question. Thanks.
Councilor Brennan.
So then if we go with this payment plan, then we end up with in 5 years, we take over the responsibility for maintenance on the Quint.
That is correct. So it's, as I said, I'm sorry, through the chair, if I may, warranties are transferable with that, but with any type of maintenance, annual maintenance and so on, it would be the same either way.
Sure. Okay. So, and then what's the combined maintenance cost from the two that we're maintaining, 155 and the aerial?
Sorry, Councilor, I'm just running numbers through my head here right now.
No problem.
I'm sorry, I can't get those numbers to you, but I could, if I may, have a chance to get those numbers and make sure that those numbers are correct to you.
And then, so then the maintenance cost on the Quint, the 5-year-old engine, what does that amount to?
It's the annual maintenance would be the exact same. Now, with that being said, what we're doing is we would be actually taking one annual pump maintenance and test actually out of our fleet. So actually decreasing the amount of the annual maintenance for out of our fleet.
Okay. And then, so if we right now we have 2 engines available to respond and an aerial. And then if we end up going with this, like at one backup, 155 and 154 is a primary, right?
So Operationally, what I could probably foresee, and this could definitely change through further operational investigation. What I would probably be looking at is for in town and for mutual aid response, I would be looking at the new Quint
Mhm.
as our primary
Sure.
response vehicle,
Yeah.
and having engine 154 drop back into our secondary.
Right, okay, and then, so if we combine them, we take one out of the equation in the unlikely case that we need it. So we will only have 2 trucks being able to respond?
That is correct.
Yeah, okay,
But what I would say to that, maybe Council Brennan, there may not always be enough staff to drive all the trucks at the same time,
that's,
depending on when the call comes in.
that's true,
And through the chair, if I
Go
could
ahead.
maybe also add that, that's why we have mutual aid agreements as well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so in the event that third call comes in while the other 2 are out, that's where we would call upon our partners. And I don't know if that's happened. I'm sure it could. I mean, obviously we gotta think about the worst case scenario, but yeah.
True enough.
Yep, thanks, Russ.
And sorry. I know that the existing aerial also doesn't have a tank on it, correct? Am I correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
It can only be used in a municipality
Relay.
that has supplied water. So
Right,
it couldn't
yeah.
go into the county to do a call unless you're able to draft to it or I forget the terminology. I'm probably going to screw that up, but it has to have water supplied to it.
Well, that's
Okay.
great, because we can charge the county more now. Don't tell them I said that. Just for that tank. Councilor Knight?
Just here, one more question. Is there any significant insurance training cost or anything for maintaining the air? Like, I do know that Seahawk mentioned there is additional training required. There's nothing really highly concerning in your eyes about maintaining one of those and keeping the training up for all the rest of that stuff?
Through the chair, if I may, Councillor Knight, it's no different in terms of training, and so on. Really no different than what we are doing right now. We still have an engine that we have to train our people on how to use the pump correctly, and appropriately. And it's the exact same thing with our present aerial as well. What I'm just recommending is basically taking those 2 trucks and putting them into one.
I was just clarifying the requirement. If there's any additional training to maintain an aerial here, an aerial wasn't here, but it doesn't sound like there is. So thanks.
And you might have a mechanic that can fix all
Yeah,
that stuff for
there
you
you go.
anyway, so it's all good. Excellent, thanks. Russ?
Okay, I'm going to start with number 2 under the water department. So our request is for a programmable logic controller PLC replacement. Programmable logic controller PLC is a rugged computer used for industrial automation. These controllers can automate specific processes such as turning equipment on and off, ramping water pumps up or down to maintain a desired water pressure and monitor conditions and data collection for long-term trending and reporting. This data is then sent to the SCADA system for operator monitoring, alarm notifications, and trending. The current PLC in use is the Schneider Electronic Modicon PLC series, which has been retired by the manufacturer. It was originally installed in Crossfield's water distribution plant in 2013, and its production was ceased in 2018. It is difficult to remotely connect to and support this PLC due to a requirement for varying software programs. The discontinued hardware for this PLC product line is becoming difficult to source, as components must now be obtained through refurbishing vendors or resellers. Launched in the market in 1994 and discontinued in 2018, replacement parts are no longer available through the manufacturer. Requires Windows 98 XP software to log on to and troubleshoot, and the newer versions require specialized legacy software. The older electrical equipment becomes more sensitive to power bumps, outages, and may fail. Fewer vendors have the training or the software to provide support. Many are reluctant to conduct program change edits due to equipment failure risk. The PLC has failed 2 times in the past year. Luckily, we were able to reprogram it. We are requesting to upgrade to an Allen Bradley PLC, which are known for their reliability. There has been several advances in PLC technology in the past 10 years, and the Allen Bradley PLC, along with the new VT SCADA, will bring the water distribution plant to current technology and should ensure a trouble-free operation of the plant for many years.
Thank you, Meryl.
You're welcome.
Questions for Meryl? Excellent. Thank you.
We need water.
Russ, do you mind if I pop in here for a second? I just wanted to think, or through the chair, I just wanted to highlight some of our rationale for the administration's rationale for choosing these capital projects. We really looked at what would impact the most people. So kind of we had that lens of the biggest impact in terms of the number of people, but then also considered some of, again, that, what we heard through the budget survey and what came out through the recreation needs assessment and all these things. But really, like the first 2 projects, you can see it impact every single resident or every single person and business owner living and working in the town of Crossfield.
Thanks for that rationale. I appreciate it.
All right. We're up again. So the next one on the list here is for Amory Park outdoor rink repairs. The outdoor rink in Amory Park is an extremely popular destination throughout the year, with people of all ages using it for ice hockey, skating, ball hockey, basketball, pickleball, lacrosse, etc. In the 2023 capital budget, administration had planned to replace the puck board on the outdoor rink because it is too thin and not intended for outdoor use. This summer, the Parks Department had someone with extensive experience in outdoor rink installation come in to take a look at the outdoor rink and discovered that there are additional flaws with this facility. Apparently, the manufacturer of this outdoor rink is known to have problems, and it's actually more of a backyard type rink as opposed to a public community type facility rink. Although the puck board is incorrect, we were also informed that the framing of the boards is not built correctly, as the supports are spaced too far apart, which is contributing to the problem we are having with the broken puck board. Even if we replace the puck board with the correct material, it will still end up breaking. In addition, we were informed that there is not enough support for the chain link at each end of the rink, which is contributing to the chain link bending. As a result, administration decided to hold off replacing the puck board, as it would not be prudent or fiscally responsible to spend money on this only to have the boards continue to break because of a lack of support. Please note that we have replaced broken pieces of puck board because they pose a safety concern for users, and we will continue to do that until we're able to make proper repairs. But we did not replace all of the boards within that facility. This part of the project is estimated to cost $70,000 and will include installing more supports on the frame for the boards, installing more supports for the chain link on each end, and installing new puck board around the entire outdoor rink. Actually, I think it also includes capping the posts as well, because that's another problem we have. The support posts don't have a cap on them, so water goes right down them, and we'll end up starting to pop them and move them, which we are actually starting to see. While we're upgrading the board system, we would also like to install permanent pickleball nets per the original plans for this multi-use facility, and the drawing is attached. This will include installation of sleeves in the ground, posts, and heavy-duty pickleball nets. We also have caps to go over the sleeves in the winter so ice can be placed over top, and the estimated cost for that is $11,500. The total cost for this project is estimated at $81,500. Therefore, administration is requesting to move the funds that were allocated in the 2023 capital budget, which was $18,500, forward to the 2024 budget and adding $63,000 to this amount, allowing for proper repairs to the outdoor rink and installation of permanent pickleball nets. So the net capital cost for 2024 would be $63,000.
Thanks, Russ. Questions for Russ?
Yeah, through the chair, I do have one, Russ. So there's no way that we can go back at all on the manufacturer for the faulty product that they provided?
Not really. Like I said, it's more intended to be like a backyard rink. So it would be built for that purpose. I don't know if Kevin's got a little bit more information on that. He talk to the person, but not really. And the other problem is back when this was FAC'd, whoever did that at that time when we signed off on it, so it became, we inherited it, so.
Whoever did it, you're so funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make a suggestion then. So maybe when we have developers and stuff offering to put these projects in, that they're more investigated as to what they're using and lifespan and,
Absolutely,
you know, you get my point.
Yep.
Okay.
absolutely.
Excellent. Thanks. I just have a general question. Maybe it's more for Amber, maybe it's the departments. But when you guys have these numbers, they're based on actual quotes. And we have some contingency in there for next year's prices.
Yeah, so we try our best to get actual quotes. This one in particular, I don't know, how long have you been hounding him to get a quote, Kevin?
Since May.
Since May.
What
So-
took you so long, Kevin?
So this quote was based on, or this cost was based on a verbal conversation. It's not a firm quote just yet. Typically though, we do when we put a project forward, I will also add a contingency to account for a.
Thanks, Russ. And do we do that across the board for next year's prices? Because you never know what inflation and stuff is going to be. Just would hate to be behind the 8 ball and have those costs come back and say, hey, we need more money.
Yeah, through the chair, most of the capital projects that you see here do have a provision for contingency.
Okay.
A little bit of rounding.
Okay. However you did it, as long as there's a bit of contingency in there, that's a good thing. Thank you. Thanks, Russ.
Through the chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Not on the I just want to go back to the fire truck for a minute. So if we have enough money to cover the 2024 lease payments at, do we have enough money in there, or are we putting away enough money to cover the next 5 years if we do the 5-year lease?
Would you like me to answer this one, Russ?
Sure.
Okay, through the chair. That's a great question. And for this project in particular, the fire truck, understanding the significance of it, I think I've kind of earmarked a corner of the franchise fee revenue that, we're transferring that into our reserves. And that is how, in my mind, these payments are being covered. It is revenue to do what, how to assign how we wish. And I think this seems to be a fairly significant priority. So
I'm just thinking that even if we know we have the money for this year, I'd hate to have it for a year and have them take it back because we can't pay for it next year.
So on that note and on the franchise fee note, I'm just curious because I don't know, it's probably in here because you said there, but going back to Dream Development, they did that lift station. We had to pay off levies or replace levies in that account. And we've done that with the Fortis, I think, offsite levies for this year.
Mhm.
But we are still outstanding on some levies that need to be replaced so we can get there, or
that
Are we paying?
transfer is taking place in 2023. I haven't, confession time, I haven't officially transferred funds into those into the offsite levy account and the reserve funds that were both underfunded, but they will be topped up before the end of the year, so that what you see in there reflects the full offsite levy or the full reserve balance plus interest that's starting to accumulate in those accounts.
so part to that question. That is a temporary lift station. What year are we going to be ready to be able to fund that loop instead of having that temporary for that development?
Through the chair, I'll continue with part 2. of that question? Yeah, yes. Yes. So there is funds, CCBF grant funds set aside for the water portion of that project. We don't have funds at this time and sufficient funds at this time to also extend the sanitary. It would make sense to do both utilities at the same time since you have the ground open.
That's
to
right,
do
yeah.
both at the same time. We are planning, although it's not in our capital budget for 2025, I believe that we are looking at doing that sanitary loop.
So that's when we'll be ready, or are we putting reserves away for that currently?
Yeah, so there are reserves. We have some money in the bank, like I said,
Not
that
for the water,
and
but for the,
but also capital reserves, and we haven't necessarily identified what those funds are being saved for. So between unrestricted and restricted reserves on our financial statements, I will have to confirm exactly how much, but we can assign parts of that to each of those, like sewer replacement can have its own specific reserve up to a certain limit. We have offsite levies and I think about under $700,000 worth of offsite levies dedicated to sanitary at the moment. And with two bigger phases coming on and for creation, there'll be additional sanitary offsite levies
true,
for those.
but who knows what that's going to look like for that area for sanitation and water unless we're good.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess your plan is for 2 more years.
Yeah, we can put that off until 2029.
No.
That's the maximum amount of time the grant funds will remain intact. However, our intention is not to put it off that long.
Yeah, I think that that project with the growth and with the development that's happening is probably one of our priorities.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for answering the questions. I
Well,
appreciate that.
Through the chair.
Councillor
one
Knight.
to Amber. When I add up, is further to Councillor Lambert's comment, when I add up the 5-year capital plan that you've awesomely put together right here, it all adds up to 1.4 number. When I add up the 2025 number, are we planning for 1.9 million then? Is that the overall total? Sorry, maybe more than that. Like, are you adding up all the totals? Because there's 4 different tabs here, right?
yeah, it's through the chair, the 5-year capital plan on page 7 under 2025 forecast is 1.438 million. And the 2025 fleet replacement plan is 543,000. So yeah, you're looking at, I think, under 2 million.
Yeah, okay. Because is the fleet plan a different spot then than in our budget than the?
No, it's all capital. It's just a different type of capital. So I just thought we could isolate fleet from, because it's easier to imagine than a lot of the other things that we budget for through capital.
We're just hoping that next year's number is gonna be 1.9 for the budget capital, right?
That's our forecast.
Yeah. That goes back to answer. Joe,
Yeah.
that goes back to answer, can we afford the 200 grand?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, the 4th project capital budget request is for the wastewater department. It's for a wastewater line replacement evaluation update. In 2017, All North Engineering was retained by the town of Crossville to evaluate the condition of several sections of the town's sanitary sewer system, after which they identified areas of concern and provided recommendations to correct them. This document requires to be updated as the sewers identified as severe have been repaired under a previous administration. The sewer lines repaired are Athabasca from Mountain to Limit, Saskatchewan Street, Mountain Avenue to Limit Avenue, Nanton Avenue, Ross Street to Railway Street, Nanton Avenue, Munson to Ross. All of the conditions of these sanitary lines were identified as severe. To determine the current status of sanitary pipe conditions for the remainder of the community, All North has recommended a revisit of the 10-year program, structural rehabilitation, to determine priority areas for repair and replacement. The scope of the project is as follows. So phase 1 would be CCTV inspections. So they would be carried out on Lot Avenue for a total of approximately 540 meters. Carry out CCTV inspection on Athabasca Crescent for a total of approximately 225 meters. We've engaged Calgary Sewer Scope to complete the CCTV inspections. They were the company that was here in 2017. Provisional fee for sewer flushing has been included should it be required, and a provisional fee for confined sewer entry has been included should it be required. For phase 2, the engineering analysis and report preparation, All North will review the CCTV inspections for both Lot Avenue and Athabasca Crescent, provide PACP ratings for inspected sewers, update sewer condition map and tables, update cost estimates for the repairs required, and prepare a brief technical report outlining the re-inspected sewer sections. Then this report is to be used in conjunction with the existing comprehensive report.
Thanks, Meryl.
You're welcome.
Questions for Meryl?
The chair.
Counselor Knight.
I'm just curious why we lumped it apart from like the $300,000 plan also. I'm just curious why it's in two different spots. Is the wastewater main upgrade is also going to happen, and that's the plan of the budget. I'm just curious why it's in two different areas.
Through the chair, just because we see them as two different projects. So first we need the evaluation to take place. Following that, we will identify hopefully 2 repairs that can be completed in 2024.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? No?
So for item number 5, it's the council chambers project. We're asking for 14,000. In January 2023, the council chambers relocated from the administrative office to the smaller meeting room in the Crossville and District Community Center. At this time, the existing council TV monitor used for presentations and live streaming camera and microphone system and the current council tables and chairs were all moved over to the new location. Of course, due to the size of the room, we're looking at creating updates and making it more professional. So we have looked into a new projector, and the new projector would be installed from the ceiling and the screen would be attached to the wall and would be motorized, allowing administration to lower the screen when needed and leaving the screen up and down to protect it when not in use. The projector will allow presenters to connect directly with the projector and have full control over the presentation. The projector information is there. It would be wireless, so there would be no cables from the ceiling down to the computer that it's connecting to. We would also update the streaming camera, which would also be attached to the wall higher up to limit visitors from blocking or walking directly in front of the camera. And our existing microphone system is adaptable to the new camera and would not be required any updates to the microphone system. The council chambers, with these upgrades, the council chambers will have a cleaner feel with projector and camera installed on the roof and the walls. And the projector screen size is set for the room size and is easily accessible. The equipment would be installed professionally and will include an administrative training session. And again, the existing microphone system is compatible with the new camera system, and all equipment and furniture upgrades can be located to a new council chambers should that happen.
And it would be compatible with the eScribe software.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Questions for Lindsay?
To the chair.
Councilor Knight.
Not really a question, Lindsay, but more of a comment. When that gets to come on there, compare what display board would look like. 2 display boards. It'll probably come out cheaper than a projector that comes up and comes down. It's always right there. You can remote to it at all times. Just more of a suggestion when you look at it.
A display board.
2 display boards put together side by side.
Yeah.
There's nothing going up and down. There's no gearing. It's That's what everyone's going to now, just more of a comment.
Why would you have two side by side?
Yeah, this one big display board is gonna be a little more money, that's all. You have to figure out the factor of how much space you want in the wall, it really comes down.
Well, most of us are getting older, Mike, and we're gonna have to see the words.
So you can put together like 3 or 4 of those TVs or whatever you want, and you put them up as a board, and you make like a whole square.
Oh,
That's
okay, I
out
see what you
there
mean. Yeah.
versus maybe just one
Yeah.
TV.
So they connect together and make one
One
Like, it's
photo.
one screen. It's
Yeah.
just something that people are doing versus the up and, because the up and down, we get 5-year life cycle out of it. And then it doesn't work and we can't get the thing to go up and down. We can't get it down. Some places are even painting the walls now, like we're not even,
Oh, well, you can get the paint for sure. Yeah,
there's just something.
Good options,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Oh, that is me.
I am so
me.
sorry. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm out of order.
That's okay.
All right, number 6, capital budget request for the operations department. So we are revisiting this to transform a single purpose vehicle to a multi-use purpose. Over the past several years, there's been an increased need to look towards supplementing our existing fleet with an additional dump truck and a new water truck. With a focus on beautification, our current water truck is not only outdated, but also insufficient in size to accommodate the increase in trees, flowers, and shrubbery. There is an identifiable need to increase the use of existing equipment in a more effective manner. Currently, the town owns a 2005 International 3-ton sanding truck that incorporates a removable plow. The sander is becoming unusable as over several years and several fixes, it is approaching the end of use date. We are currently using an outdated 23-year-old Ford 3/4 ton with a small tank and pump as the water truck. The truck must be replaced, and because of the size of the tank, it requires filling several times a day. This proposal is for an integrated system of attachments that will fit onto the current 2005 International 3-ton. We would then purchase the following attachments: a 20-yard bin with tailgate, a 14-foot flat deck and a 1,000-gallon water tank, and a detachable sander. This system would be utilized in all 4 seasons, from hauling snow in the winter to watering trees, flowers, and shrubs in the summer. The cost to purchase individual pieces to accommodate all the tasks previously outlined could cost as much as $250,000. The proposed system can be sourced for approximately $100,000. During the winter months, we would use the 20-yard bin for snow removal. The lift system that we will purchase takes approximately 60 seconds to remove or attach an attachment to the truck. Should we require the sander, we would simply remove the bin from the truck and hook up the sander. Our current plow that is fitted for this truck would remain in use. Once winter passes, we would put the flat deck onto the truck. This would be fitted with a larger water tank, pump, and retractable hose for watering. Should there be a need for a large bin, such as tree trimming at the cemetery, then you simply take the flat deck off, load up the bin, and transport it to the necessary location. When the truck is salvaged, we simply move the lift system to another truck and continue using the system. This is not a new application for this type of system, as several towns in Alberta use this system for various applications, and it is well tested in commercial use. With proper maintenance, the system will last for decades, with the only variable being the vehicle itself. The operators of this vehicle only require a Class 5 license, but will require an air brake endorsement. Currently, all operations staff have their Class 3 with air brake endorsement. The initial training of the operators on the system will be conducted by the operations foreman who has operated the system extensively. It is evident that pieces of equipment are past their useful stage and need to be replaced sooner than later. The town already owns the largest expenditure for this purchase in the truck. It completes a commercial vehicle inspection program, CVIP, every year, so we know it's mechanically sound. It has slightly more kilometers on it than 29,698. That's last year's numbers on it, and it is operated only sporadically through the winter months. This system will allow us to utilize a current seldom used asset into a highly effective year-round multi-use vehicle that not only benefits the operations department, but also the parks and facilities. We've outlined the project cost estimate. So the removal of the current sander will be approximately $1,000. Update to the current hydraulic system, $2,000. Purchasing of the lift system is estimated at $39,000. Purchasing 20-yard bin, $6,500. Purchase of a 14-foot flat deck is $6,500, and a new sander is $42,000. The water gallon tank is estimated at $3,000. So the total project estimate is $100,000. And thank you. I had notes. So the reason why we are bringing this back is because it was an approved capital project for 2023. However, due to a need to upgrade the SCADA system, the supervisory control and data acquisition, this project was deferred to this year.
Thanks, Meryl.
You're welcome.
With this piece of equipment in the winter hauling snow, how many days less for snow clearing?
Through the chair, I will ask our operations foreman to answer that question.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, that's a very difficult question to answer. The 20-yard bin would give us about the same capacity as our Kenworth does. So we would, depending on the snow, the amount, a few days. I honestly, I don't even know if I could answer
So
that
if
specifically.
it's the same capacity, then we should be able to cut that time in half.
Well, it would be almost 2/3 more than what we're currently able to haul with the sanding truck when we use it.
Mhm.
So it wouldn't double our removal, but it would add significantly to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Questions? Any other questions?
No, makes sense.
Great, thank you.
Looks like we're up again for the fire department. So item number 7 is to upgrade the fire department's AFRAX radio communication system to AFRAX for an estimated cost of $54,000 plus additional expenditures in years to come to replace current radios that we have. So the AFRAX or AFRRCS, I am not sure what that means, but I know they call it AFRAX. Bill can speak to that later. Anyway, I don't think it's really that important. It's a provincial radio system that has become a common system that first responder organizations have moved to or are moving towards. This is a very robust system which allows for the interoperability with our surrounding mutual aid partners, including AHS. It is maintained solely by the provincial government and has shown itself to be an extremely dependable system with backup systems built in to ensure its integrity. Our present system does work well for the operational needs within the town, but several of our responses involve working with our mutual aid partners, including Rocky View County, City of Airdrie, Town of Carstairs, and Mountain View County. This requires us to equip the department with 3 separate systems to communicate on calls. These include our 2 communication systems, which is VHF for paging and UHF for radio communications, and the AFRAX communication system, which our partners utilize. It has been identified that the department's paging system, which is the VHS system, needs significant upgrading due to components not being compatible with Calgary 911 dispatch future upgrades. This means that if those components malfunction, the department will lose its ability to receive response pages from Calgary dispatch with no backup systems available. The department does utilize a mobile phone app that notifies fire department members of page outs. However, it is limited in the information provided compared to a paging system, which is far superior for information sharing related to emergency calls. It should also be noted that this mobile phone app is not used as a sole emergency notification system and is not recommended by the provider to do so. It is recommended that the town transfer its communication system to AFRAX and eliminate the present system for emergency response operations. At this point, the department has 18 portable radios, 3 newer portables and 15 older secondhand portables, which can be utilized on the AFRAX system. This will only require 4 portables and 7 vehicle mounted radios, present fleet model to be purchased in the first year. It would be recommended that a plan be put in place to replace the secondhand portables over the next number of years. The reason for this is these portables are getting older and we want to keep our equipment consistent and uniform throughout the department. This would allow for sufficient allotment of radios for each of the response units, plus each of the department's officers. The department would also need to purchase a new set of approximately 10 pagers, which would be the primary notification system for the department's in-town members, less the officer group who will have portable radios for call notification. It is understood that the existing UHF radio system, which is used to communicate with Calgary 911 dispatch, is still sound and can be utilized. If the fire department were to move to the AFRAC system, there is the option that for these radios to be repurposed to the town for use by the operations department and for emergency management purposes. To ease some of the potential costs, there may be options of supplemental funding through financial donations of neighboring industry and using other fire departments' buying power when the radios are purchased. However, in the event we are unsuccessful in securing additional donations, or if we are unable to order radios with other fire departments, we are requesting capital funds to purchase them at their full price. And you will see attached here, there is a quote per radio below. So option number one, which is the recommended option, is to purchase 4 portable radios, 7 vehicle mounted radios, and 10 pagers for the AFRAC system. Additional 5 pagers. Oh, sorry. And we would move into the, I guess, the replacement program in 25 through to 28, as you can see there. And then we've got a couple other options there. The option number 2 would be to purchase the AFRAX radios and then just replace the aging secondhand radios as they break down, which would more so impact future capital budget years as opposed to 2024. And then option number 3 would be to kind of make more of a progressive purchase of radios starting next year and moving through subsequent years. So.
Thanks, Russ. I don't know if you remember the discussion from 3 years ago on AFRAX radios opposed to the current ones that you're using. But the AFRAX, they don't need the tower, right?
Through the chair, that is correct. So basically what the AFRAC system is, it's really a province-owned system. So what they have is they have multiple repeaters throughout the province.
That's right.
The advantage of that is the municipalities or towns such as us that have our own independent system, we are required to maintain the repeater system and the towers. With the AFRAC system, the Alberta government does it all.
That's right.
To note as well, the AFRAC system, it really was put through its paces in the McMurray fires and also down in Waterton as well. Everything around these repeaters and towers were burning, but yet they still had enough redundant systems to keep on working. On top of that as well, because it is provincially owned, emergency management through the Alberta government also has portable repeaters as well. So in very large events, they can actually trailer repeaters throughout the province that also have I think it's 150 portable radios on these trailers as well. So that is also another advantage to the system.
So the other really nice thing about these is you can talk to any other emergency services through these radios, which with our old radio system, you can't really do that.
Your worship, that is exactly correct. When I was with the department in the city of Medicine Hat, when we switched over to AFRAX, I actually talked to my chief training officer from Medicine Hat who was in Calgary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the existing tower we have on the fire department, that's something we still want to keep and use in case We use the other radios for different departments.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there and we can use it, sure.
We move.
Or,
Well, I
Yeah.
don't know why you need to move it, but
Oh, it's not.
yeah,
I'm just saying,
so
like,
I-
we could have looked after this 3 years ago and spent $79,000 on
Mhm.
these radios instead of a tower. Just saying.
Yeah.
So thanks for bringing this.
Good.
I'm done with questions.
You're done. Yeah. Through the chair, I do have a question for either Bill or Russ. Have you touched base with any of the other departments on the buying power option? Just to get some different numbers?
Through the chair, no, Councilor Fox, I haven't at this particular point. I do know that Airdrie themselves is also moving over to the AFRAC system as well. So there is a potential of possibly having some purchasing power with that department as well. I haven't investigated that as of yet. But yeah, that is definitely a potential.
Through the chair, I also believe Rocky View County is doing the same thing, so you could check with them too.
I think everybody will.
Well, a lot of them are already on it.
Yeah. A few years ago now.
Perfect. Any other questions? Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, capital budget request number 8 is for the operations department. We are requesting funding for a Westgate Estates fence replacement. So fencing for Westgate Estates was provided by the developer at the time of subdivision and became town property at the time of construction in 2004. Records indicate that a screening fence was approved to be constructed in December 2003. The section of fence, the sections requiring replacement span over approximately 150 meters, which we've shown in the pictures. Fencing would be replaced with pressure-treated fence panels and be similar to the fence constructed to back the development for Sunset Ridge Developments. Short and sweet.
Yes. Any questions? It's needed.
I know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
we realize that.
Okay.
I live there. I can't say that.
That's right. Well, it's so needed, but
It is.
thanks for having a look at that.
Yeah, no problem.
To the chair, can I just ask a question on this, Meryl? Did you compare prices between the pressure treated and the resin, I think it's called?
We did. There
Yeah, I could
was
tell
this
by your response.
years ago when Vista Crossing constructed their fence, we did look at pricing and it's unaffordable.
Okay,
So that's why we're
Just a
sticking with the
question.
pressure treated.
yeah.
Mhm.
That's why
So operations will be outstanding every 5 years?
that should be the standard in any new development
Mhm.
is to do that. So
That fencing, it's
Yes.
beautiful. I agree.
at their cost.
Yes.
And you can tell them both I said that.
Mhm.
Through the chair,
Councilor Brennan.
so, like, was this put in when this subdivision was put in as well? Like that was the developer that did that?
Yes.
Okay,
It's older than you.
wow. Yeah, sorry, I can't remember.
That's why things are growing through it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just, yeah,
It's
it was on
not.
that,
It's.
on that resin or that plastic fencing, because I know that we're getting about
Mhm.
1,500 feet of new fence put in Iron Landing, and that's all gonna be wood too. So that's a tricky one. But like, yeah, it's just something we gotta look at that too. Like in the future. That's all. Broken record.
Any more questions for Meryl?
No,
Excellent.
actually, that was more of a comment. My bad.
It's all good.
All
Russ?
moving along to number 9, we have park sign replacement. So we are looking at this to be a multi-year project. In 2023, administration worked with a company to come up with a new design for park signs to replace the existing ones that are in poor condition, as noted in the photo below and becoming a safety concern. To provide consistency with the signs around town, we asked the design company to combine elements from the Railway Street signs as well as the existing park signs and incorporate them into the new design. Several options were provided, which were circulated around to all staff for input, and the overwhelming favorite among all staff was the following version. And there's 2 different, they're the same sign, they just kind of have the elements switched.
Yeah.
So both are the same, both are the same design with metal and wood reversed. Administration is currently weighing which of the above options or which of those two options to proceed with. The design shown combines elements from both signs, including the shape and perforated metal from the main Railway Street signs, along with the wood and lettering from the existing park signs. In addition, the signs will be sitting on legs shaped like the existing half logs. However, they will be made of metal to minimize maintenance and improve longevity. A preliminary cost for these signs is estimated at $40,000 to $45,000 per sign. If capital funding is approved, administration will seek additional quotes to ensure competitive pricing. We may also seek other cost savings, including reducing the size of the signs, changing the materials, whatever we can to kind of work with that. Because these signs are costly, administration is proposing that a replacement program be implemented to replace 2 to 3 signs per year over the next 3 to 4 years. The plan will prioritize replacement with the signs in the worst condition being replaced first. These signs include, and these aren't necessarily in order of replacement, but they're in Banta Park, Murdoch Park, Walker Park, Wygo Park, McCaskill Park, Crockett Park, Veterans Peace Park, and then we also have Amory Park, which doesn't currently have a sign. Once the detailed drawings and specifications are complete for these signs, they can be provided to developers so they can include them in the construction of future parks to maintain consistency throughout town. So that's that.
Questions for Russ? Okay, thanks, Russ.
I guess we're up again, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin, you're doing so much over there. I can't believe it.
So number 10, we have Banta Park revitalization. So one of the higher priorities identified and recommended by the Crossfield Recreation Board is to make improvements to Banta Park, as it is the first green space and park people see when entering town. In addition, the 2022 Parks and Recreation Needs Assessment identified the community's desire to upgrade the tennis, pickleball, and basketball courts within this park. The main reason for the poor condition of the sport court surfacing that's currently there is that the asphalt underneath the surfacing is not graded or leveled properly, resulting in pooling of water. In addition, the surfacing is typically good for up to 5 years, and it has been longer than that since it was originally installed. Excuse me. It is estimated to cost approximately $65,000 just to resurface the tennis, pickleball, and basketball courts. So rather than putting this large sum of money towards resurfacing this area only to have it deteriorate again in 3 to 5 years because of the poor condition of the ground and surface beneath it, administration would like to engage with a landscape architect to provide a new design of Banta Park. The intention of this new design would be to revitalize the park, redesign the layout of the sport courts to make more efficient use of the space, and recommend new features and amenities to attract people of all ages to this park. Once the design is approved, administration would then begin work to refresh this park, including upgrading the sport courts with properly graded asphalt.
Questions for Russ?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
Do you review the idea at all of just giving Kevin 25 squeegees and tell him to maintain it that way? No, in all seriousness, I like the idea. I wouldn't mind if the town put some ideas out to people in the public as well. Saying, what would you like to see in Banta Park? And maybe lead with that and then look to the architect side, see what we can get from Albina Fishing. What would you like to see in the park? Come up with some ideas of how the park could come together. I wouldn't mind hearing from people before we just send it straight out to an architect and design it that way.
It's a good idea to get some engagement done.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of public engagement prior to this, so I think it would be a good idea to carry that on.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's true.
I just want the squeegees though.
And pictures of Kevin.
All right.
You're up again.
We're up again. So number 11, Western Drive Dog Park upgrades. So improvements to the dog park on Western Drive admittedly have been slow to begin. Main reason for this is when we went to start the upgrades, it was noted there may be a trapped low, and thank you to Kevin for identifying this, designed and engineered for drainage of the area. The concern was if we proceeded with filling the low spots, we could inadvertently cause issues with drainage of the entire area. Therefore, administration decided to engage with our engineers to determine how we should proceed with further developing and improving this green space as an off-leash dog park. The engineers surveyed the area and provided information on how much dirt we would need to move along with the along with the grade we need to maintain. This is really poorly worded, sorry. Along with the grade we need to provide appropriate drainage. The improvement plans moving forward for 2024 will include confirming the space to be fenced for the off-leash area, landscape the areas necessary with proper grading along with mounds for dogs to play on and around, to seed or sod the newly landscaped areas, and pending available funds, fence the area with chain link and or install other dog-friendly amenities. Future improvements to this area may include redoing the parking area, adding additional benches, garbage cans, adding additional dog-friendly amenities as needed, as well as planting trees and shrubs as needed. And I guess just a little update, since we submitted this, we've actually got another meeting with Derek with MPE, and we're starting to move along onto getting a more solid idea of where we would like to kind of identify as this off-leash dog area. And then he's going to also put together a cost estimate as to what we may need for moving dirt and that sort of stuff. The area originally was, if you can picture it, it's a great big triangle to the south of the pathway. That will be decreased quite a bit because we don't want to impact too much drainage around that area. So we're looking at fencing off kind of, I guess, maybe the top part of that triangle is kind of what we're looking at. And then also looking at fencing where the temporary fencing is right now. So then we have two areas, one small dog, one large dog for that. So that's kind of how the plans have changed. So as was mentioned, we did have money allocated in the 2023 capital budget. Not very much of that has been spent. There's been a little bit of engineering to try and get this figured out. So what we're looking to do is carry forward the 2023 funds, and then in last year's capital forecast, we did have $25,000 kind of identified to go toward this park again. So we are requesting to have that 25,000 added for 2024 in addition to the funds we had before. If that all makes sense.
It makes sense. And it aligns with the recreation needs assessment. So it'd be nice to have this one done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Councilor Knight.
what's our long-term plan for this dog park being there? Do we see any concerns or anything with the wastewater, with the town growing? Are we gonna be building something next to something that we're gonna run over here right away?
That's a good question. I may have to defer that to operations on that. I don't see that changing much, but I should maybe.
I think through the chair, I think we would definitely have more clarity on that question once the wastewater study is completed. Until then, it would be difficult to say, but I anticipate that remaining a dog park.
Okay, second question. Is there any other town land that we have where we could put a dog park that isn't next to the ponds?
Through the chair, so with the Vista Crossing ASP amendment, there is a recommendation or a proposal to have a linear dog park on the east side.
It's pretty small, but like that won't be a real large dog park. That'll be a small one that covers.
Correct.
Actually, it's actually not a bad size.
It'll be half the size of the one that we're looking at here. It's not a third. No,
It's pretty long.
Yeah,
It's not as wide, but
yeah,
it's
it's not
pretty
as
long.
wide, but it'd be long. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Russ.
No.
And through the chair, the recreation needs assessment has also been shared with the developers, so they're fully aware that these are amenities that we're looking for in future development. So we're anticipating it will be incorporated in future subdivisions.
Well, in some, I think we don't need a dog park in every subdivision, but
No, but
if we
it,
have two dog parks in this size of town, I think we're good for a while.
I just want to make sure we're not gonna put a dog park into something that has to get ran over, but also thinking outside the box, what other land we own, that we could start building a dog park, building a campground, building some ball diamonds. You know, that would all fit together quite well in a parcel of something like that.
Mhm.
So that's all there's that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to number 12 for the operations department, we have a capital budget request for a landscape rake skid steer attachment. This is a skid steer attachment that is utilized for grooming alleyways or any other area where groundwork is required for revitalization. This piece of equipment will allow the operations department to better manage alley maintenance. The landscape rake not only gives the operations team ability to smooth the surface, but allows them to be proactive in mitigating drainage either through the middle or onto the edges of the alleyway. The grader currently used for alley maintenance has a 14-foot blade, which makes grading the alleys very difficult when we consider the size of the grader and resident placement of waste and recycling bins and parked vehicles. The landscape rake can be utilized for grooming any areas that are remediated. So for example, where the old North Lift Station removal took place, it was ideal for that.
Questions for Merrill?
Through the chair.
Counselor Knight?
It's only fair if we're gonna buy squeegees for Kevin, we need to buy rakes for Murray.
Yeah, that's right.
So put that in the budget, please. Let's buy more things.
Also want pictures of that.
Oh, thanks. That's good.
Job retention.
So number 14 here is outdoors exercise equipment. This one's mentioned previously. We have so administration has applied for the Alberta Blue Cross Built Together grant to install outdoor exercise equipment. Current proposed location for this equipment is the northwest corner of Murdoch Park. If successful, the project will be funded through this grant, and we expect to hear back from Blue Cross by December 31, 2023, whether we are successful. And of note that this project will only proceed if we are successful in receiving that grant funding.
That's
And
great.
the location is also up for negotiation. Is just one area that we thought would work. So
It's got good parking.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Russ.
Now we're moving along to the 2024 annual capital project profiles. So the first one is for operations for the annual sidewalk replacement repair program. The amount allocated is $50,000. The Safe Sidewalks Canada report has uncovered 49 defects and multiple panels requiring replacement. Most suggested replacement panels are due to cracking. Operations will work to identify the most critical areas needing immediate replacement for 2024 based on the sidewalk condition assessment summary report.
Thanks, Merrill. Questions for Merrill? Moving on.
Okay, we're moving on to the annual asphalt replacement program. So we have identified 2 areas in Crossville that we would like to address next year. One being paving the 1200 block of Hammond Avenue, which is approximately 78.83 meters. This block of Hammond Avenue has not been completed and needs paving. With seniors at the lodge, this roadway creates several hazards, not only for those on foot, but also for those utilizing scooters. The cost estimate is $80,000. The work involved will include excavation, hauling, disposal of existing roadway asphalt, shaping, watering, compaction, site load test, placement, compaction of 25 millimeter crushed gravel at an average depth of 50 centimeters, oil application, hauling, placement, compaction of 100 millimeter depth city B mix asphalt, and this is suggested due to ambulances, garbage trucks, and general traffic. The second area identified is Lott Avenue, which provides access to Highway 2A. This is approximately 73.05 meters. Lott Avenue entrance to the town is in disrepair and lacks appropriate drainage. The cost estimate for the work involved is $100,000. So the work required would be excavation, hauling, disposal of existing roadway asphalt, shaping, watering, compaction, site load test, hauling, placement, compaction of 25 millimeter crushed gravel at an average depth of 50 centimeters, oil application, hauling, placement, compaction of 100 millimeter depth city B mix asphalt. This is suggested due to, oh, well, that shouldn't be in there, should it? That was a repeat. Sorry, I should take that out. It is true. It would still require their access.
Questions for Merrill? No, thanks. And so we do own that piece and that's
Yeah,
our
I was-
responsibility. So
We do.
that's, thanks for finding that out and for looking after that. It just gets so flooded there.
I know
Yeah.
it's a trouble area.
It really is. Yeah.
Remember the one year where it was full of muskrats? That was a few years ago. Remember that?
I'm not the one that was swimming with them. so I don't remember.
They were all through town.
Thanks, Merrill.
No problem. Another annual capital project that we've identified is water meters. So annual water meter purchase. This is for our growth. As new development continues within the town of Crossfield, there is a requirement for the town to supply water meters. There are currently 61 meters in the inventory. With an increase of industrial and residential development, funding is required to allow for purchases to meet with the development growth. This budget will allow for approximately 35 additional meters at a cost of $700 each.
Hey, questions for Merrill?
Through the chair. So Mara, that's above the ones that are already on the list for replacement.
Yes, that's through the chair. That is outside. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, the annual recycling solid waste cart purchase. Each year, we are seeing an increase in residential development. With each new home, the town is required to provide a recycling waste cart for each home. In 2023, a purchase of 100 recycling carts and 100 garbage carts were purchased, increasing the town's inventory to 160 recycling carts and 160 garbage carts. With 2 new subdivisions registered in 2022 and 2023, there is the potential for residential development to increase by 197 lots, in addition to the current development taking place in both Iron Landing and Vista Crossing. Annual purchases allow the town to stay ahead of the growth curve and allows for inventory to accommodate new homeowners. The proposed budget will allow for the purchase of 100 of each of the waste and recycling bins. Proposed annual purchase of 100 bins of each will be covered under this budget, and the estimated cost per cart is $98.78 plus freight.
Thanks, Merrill. Questions? Moving along.
Okay, wastewater. So the wastewater line upgrade. So in 2017, All North Engineering was retained by the town to evaluate the condition of several sections of the town's sanitary sewer system, identifying areas of concern and providing recommendations to rectify them. As previously noted, approximately 7.5 kilometers of sanitary sewers were evaluated, consisting mostly of concrete pipe and a few key sections of PVC pipe. A sewer scope was used to carry out closed circuit television video, CCTV, inspection to evaluate the internal condition of the sanitary sewers. The data collected was assessed and a rating system and pipe rating index was assigned to each of the inspected sewer pipe sections. The sewer condition assessment results provided crucial information for making decisions on the timing and extent of rehabilitation by preparing a sewer pipe condition map and table. And that was where we had previously asked for the funding for the sewer condition assessment update. All North provided a section by section breakdown detailing findings and recommendations for the inspected sanitary sewers. Although an update of the sewer line replacement evaluation is required, it is anticipated that the document will be completed by spring 2024. Following completion of the sewer line replacement evaluation, it would be requested to immediately start addressing any upgrades with the designation of either critical, severe, or poor as recommended.
Okay, so we don't know which ones yet. So we're anticipating that there are going to be some that need to be replaced. And
Correct.
This is the budget amount that we have for it.
Correct. So the sewer condition assessment of 7750 is the document that we require to be updated, and that will identify the areas that require replacement.
Okay, and that 300,000 probably will only take care of some of it.
It will likely only take care of 1 or 2. It depends on the severity.
Yeah, okay. Questions for Merrill? Good. Russ?
All right, moving on to annual pathway replacement. So the second highest ranking need or want for outdoor facilities identified by the community in our 2022 Parks and Recreation Needs Assessment was expand and enhance walking paths. To ensure our highly desired existing pathways remain in usable and safe condition, it is important to perform annual maintenance and replacement. In 2023, an active transportation plan is being completed that will include a condition assessment of our existing pathway system. This assessment will be used to identify the sections of pathway that require replacement, prioritized according to condition. The funds provided in this capital budget request will be utilized to replace as many sections of the pathway as possible.
Questions for Russ?
You're the chair.
Go ahead.
So the purpose of this is just to pay a contractor to come around and check the conditions of our, is that kind of what we're at here?
No, this is actually to actually replace sections of path, upgrade them. Yeah. The active transportation plan that's been being completed has taken care of that assessment portion of it.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
And then we're being, like moving forward, we're being a little more careful what kind of trees we plant around the pathways and stuff for the roots. And that's
Correct.
where a lot of the damage comes from.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. We've had discussions with developers on that and are getting a lot pickier on what we're allowing. Other options are to have them put in root barriers and that sort of stuff to keep that from happening.
Perfect. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, that pretty much takes care of our proposed projects. Did you want us to go through the
You have the
future?
relocation of the Quonset.
Yeah.
Those are for future consideration. We didn't build those projects into our current year plan.
Do we want to talk about those though?
Do you want to talk about them?
I kind of wanted to talk about that one.
Here's what you got.
Okay,
Minutes.
well, this is an opportunity definitely to see if there's anything in the plan you'd like to go over. And, council always has the opportunity to amend what is on the plan, add, take away, and we're completely here to entertain all of that.
Thank you. So I do want to talk about the Quonset one, because the biggest question that came to my mind when I looked at that was, we own that property. We own that Quonset. And the way that it's laid out in here is really for storage for units on the off seasons that they're not being used. Why would we have to move the building? Why couldn't we just use it in place and make that agreement with our rental? And then we're not spending that $90,000 to move something that we can use while it's still in place.
And that's a very good question. I think what needs to happen is, and this is part of the reason why it's for future consideration too, and as an afterthought, I know once the new CAO is on board, I know there will be discussion of what will happen with town-owned property. So if it were to be that this property would no longer be on the town's books, it would be an opportunity for us to utilize a town asset and relocate it for our use. However, if the lease agreement with the leasee can be negotiated, we could certainly use that building there.
Yeah, and then we could, if we ever decide to sell it or whatever that looks like, then we could revisit this idea.
Absolutely.
But I think personally, I would say we should just use it in place until otherwise noted. Just my thoughts.
Well, and we don't know what the new administration operations site might even look like.
What new operation site?
I don't know. But, well, if we build a new building,
Yeah, but that's years down the road.
well, maybe close
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay,
Through the chair.
go ahead.
Another consideration, and Murray just actually brought it to my attention, and it's very valid, is we have to look at security. So if the Quonset were to be utilized at that property, we would have to ensure that it's a secure lot.
Russ, did you want to talk about we might as well just talk about everything. Hey, talk about that aerial lift on there.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that one as well. This was actually kind of a combined effort through parks as well as operations. So we are considering the purchase of an aerial man lift. So over the years, the town has needed to find safe ways to work on projects at height. Depending on the jobs being performed, the use of ladders can be dangerous and often requires more than 2 people to complete the task. So for example, moving heavier, cumbersome objects such as flower baskets up and down a ladder. All of the operations staff has become certified in the use of aerial man lifts so that we can use them when we rent them. And we have rented one actually on several occasions now to help us with some of the projects we do. So one of the reasons why we thought that it may be beneficial for us to purchase one as opposed to renting, because it's roughly about $1,000 per rental per day. So yeah, per day.
Probably plus pick up and drop off.
I think that includes that. Yeah. But anyway, over time here with Railway Street, as we start to increase our inventory of banners and that sort of stuff, those will be coming up and down more frequently. We do have banners in some of our other subdivisions, like I know Vista Crossing has some banners up on their posts. But also, we use it for placement and removal of hanging flower baskets around town. We have facilities in town, such as the arena, where we need to get in, and even the shops, fire hall, where we're changing lights or doing other interior ceiling maintenance from time to time. We've also got gutter and roof maintenance on town facilities that this would be beneficial for, as well as tree maintenance in parks, green spaces, cemeteries. So for example, when we have a storm, we have tree branches break off and they're kind of hanging as a potential public safety hazard. So there is a lot of benefits to having one around and uses.
Thanks. Questions for us?
Mr. Chair, more just if we can put in this for us for the report, can you put the amount we rent out right now in the report costs that we have in the table here? And then put in the number of estimated hours of the use of this future device. Say that we're going to come up with a plan saying we forecast using this thing 120 days of the year, 5-6 hours a day. That'll really make justification in the use of seeing it, because you'll see the value of it, and it's not a high ticket item. And this obviously isn't a new one, right? So,
right,
it ties back to our mechanic thing again too.
Right.
I was going to say new and used.
Oh, and a new one's like $200,000, Jill.
So it would only be the difference. Yeah, we must have gone with warranty then.
Through the chair, the only thing I would ask the cost
Of the device.
Of the device
actual thing.
itself.
Oh,
That's
for
your
the
second
unit
area.
itself, not certification for staff. Yeah.
There, I would just say a yearly ownership. Let's just make it. There's a couple of things. You throw one for maintenance.
Excellent. Thanks, Russ. Meryl, did you have something else?
Not for that, no.
Okay, you want to talk about the turbidity?
I sure do.
Okay.
Okay, so for the water department, request for a turbidity monitor. The turbidity of water is a measurement of how clear or cloudy it is. The cloudier the water, the higher its turbidity. Turbidity measures a liquid's relative clarity, or the amount of light that refracts off materials in a liquid sample. The more light is refracted within a sample of water, the higher the level of turbidity. Several materials can cause turbidity, including silt, inorganic and organic matter, clay, algae, and some microscopic organisms. You can measure turbidity using a turbidity meter or sensor, which will use scatter detection methods to quickly detect the levels of total suspended solids, TSS, in water. TSS, referring to waterborne particles that are larger than 2 microns, are the common culprits behind turbidity. The most common causes of high turbidity are phytoplankton, erosion, urban runoff, wastewater discharge, algae, and sediment disruption. Guidelines for Canadian drinking water quality state that to ensure effectiveness of disinfection and for good operation of a distribution system, it is recommended that water entering a distribution system have turbidity levels below 1.0 NTU, thus making an inline turbidity monitor an essential piece of equipment. Currently, we are manually testing weekly for turbidity, which is time-consuming and less accurate. A constant 24-hour monitoring of turbidity would alert the operator of any issues through SCADA and will help ensure water quality for our residents.
We are at the end of the line. I'm just saying.
I agree.
Questions for Merrill?
Good, Chair.
Go ahead.
I don't have a question, just more of a comment. It talks about the number of man hours. What the total amount, Merrill, that you think that actually is? We have a cost to displace said person to go over there and do the testing. That does cost the town. The ROI of doing this is fairly fast.
Correct.
Yeah.
Through the chair, did you want Joe to provide you a little bit of information on man hours for testing?
No, I just, I would, if you have an estimate in here, so just say we've got an estimate of 100 man hours a year or whatever, right? And that man hours we bill, it costs the town $50 an hour, right? This thing pays for itself in 2 years. Almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Efficient. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect.
No,
Lighting.
no offense, Joe.
And constant monitoring too is what I really like. So monitors 24/7.
Mhm.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, go ahead.
Are other towns like Carsters monitoring their water the same way as well?
I haven't reached out to Carstairs, but I did talk to Airdrie about the system that they're using.
Yeah. Wondering. Water provided. Yeah, water provider. We report back to them of what are levels.
The only time I've reported back to the plant is when we have gone above the 1 NTUs. We had a heavy spring runoff, so I notified Alberta Environment and worked with Anthony Henday, just notified them. So
Perfect.
I'll ask other water questions.
Sounds good. Russ, LED lighting.
Yes, thank you. So for the arena, so most of the lighting in the arena has already been upgraded to LED fixtures, including the arena surface and second floor loft. Lights in the loft were replaced through a generous donation from a group who used the room for their functions. Administration would like to address the remaining areas that still require LED lighting upgrades, including the lobby, dressing rooms, and dressing room hallways. Estimated cost for this capital project is $9,900. The total request is for $11,000, which includes a 10% contingency.
Thanks, Russ. My only question is do we still have some other facilities that need LED lighting upgrades? And is that LED lighting grant still available?
And that's actually something I should have included in here as well, as we will look for green grants
Yeah.
through MCCAC, and I believe there's a couple other outfits that have grants. So if we do come across something, we'll definitely apply for it and see what we can get. But other facilities, I'm fairly confident, and maybe Joe can confirm, the fire hall is probably all LED from when that was done. This building's all done. The shop is fluorescent, I believe. So the shop may be one that we could tag on.
Yeah, and I'm just curious, like how much would the shop be? And if you do get a grant, that could offset some of the cost. And
Yeah, the shop actually would probably be looking to switch them out with lights that are similar to what's in the arena.
yeah,
in
and
the-
there's a
in the
cost
ice surface
savings
part. Yeah.
on power and stuff after you switch them out.
Yeah, there is. And I know we did the arena ice surface on a grant, and I want to say it was about $18,000. I don't know why that number's sticking in my head, but and in the end, we paid a fraction of that. I want to say maybe somewhere around $4,000 or $5,000 of it. So
Yeah, so that might be worth looking at doing both at the same time
Yeah.
or something.
I could be off on the 18,000. I don't know why that number's in my head. It could have been more, but anyway, we got a pretty good grant for that one.
Sounds good. Questions for us?
Got a question with
Yeah,
the chair.
Counselor Knight.
Can you just add in the report, Russ, that this will come with cost savings?
Yeah.
I don't think we can measure the cost savings of what it is, but it's always good when we're making a decision.
Yes. Well, you might be able to come close because we'd know the cost savings from when we did the arena. Which would be more comparable to the shop than these other little pieces.
Yeah, arena's tough though, because I mean, our electricity bills come lumped together, right? And I think our annual budget for the arena is about $48,000 because the ice plant is a substantial electricity user. So it's kind of hard to compare those, but
Well, you'll do your best.
yeah, we'll do our best.
Arena interior door replacement.
Yes, so we are looking at, and I guess maybe I should just to start off too, one of the reasons why we decided this was a good one to defer is because 2025, we also want to look at installing new accessible doors in the front, like for the front doors. So we thought this could be lumped into the same kind of project. So anyway, we want to make the arena more accessible. So those front doors would be automatic or have an automatic option, as well as throwing in an automatic option for the ones between the lobby and the arena area. So anyway, that's one of the reasons why this one was pushed back.
Just so you know, Luke, these doors are also older than you.
I'm sensing a theme.
So many of the interior doors in the arena are getting worn down because of aging and the type of use this facility sees. This is especially true with the dressing room doors. Administration would like to replace several of the interior doors as well as install barrier-free operators on the doors between the lobby and the arena area to improve accessibility. Project will be broken down per the following: to replace interior doors, which would be made custom to the existing frames and hinge locations. The doors between the lobby and arena area. So there's 2 of those. There's 5 dressing room doors and then the referee room as well. So that's a total of 8 doors at a cost of approximately $2,000 per door installed. And then also installing barrier-free operators on doors between the lobby and the arena area. So that's 2 of those at approximately $3,500 per operator times 2, and as well as the electrical work to bring power to those operators at approximately $3,000. So total project comes to $26,000 plus a 15% contingency for price changes.
Inflation.
Questions for us?
Good chair.
Counselor Knight.
One thing, Russ, I've seen in some other arenas, they've doors been $2,000. They went to sponsors that for $1,000, the door can be yours for the next 1 year. Just like it's Mona did it, Didsbury's doing it right now. And then it's not called dressing room 1, it's actually called GMC room 1 or GMC room.
The Mike Knight,
Mike
Knight room.
Yeah.
So
And then
pop
there's
up your
the
$1,000. You're the first sponsor.
Or we could even just still have a number behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Just something to look at for some.
You hear that, Mike? To cough up your $1,000, you're the first sponsor.
Yeah, you just bought the first door.
Wait,
Can I get the referee room?
you're only getting 5 years for $1,000. For $1,000, you're only getting 5 years, not 20.
Take it off my paycheck. Payroll. Amber, work that out.
All right, so before you close, general comments from council on the budget, any feedback that you want to give staff?
Good chair.
Counselor Knight.
I've asked a bunch of questions, so I'll just thank everyone for the time now. It is one of our better budgets, or maybe the best one I've ever seen. So that's my comment.
Totally agree.
Absolutely.
I concur. Everything was in there, but it was easy to understand this time rather than having line after line after line. Yeah.
Yes, so I concur. Very good job by all. Just one comment from me, and I like, Russ, how we're looking after a lot of the quick wins for recreation. We're looking after a lot of the maintenance things that we always have to look after. I would like to actually see something put in the budget over the next 3 to 5 years. Planning for a skate park. So figure out what that looks like. What we can put in for reserves to save for that, what grants we can apply for that. And in addition to that, who our other partners could be, could be Rocky View, could be one of the developers. And how can we work with the community to do some fundraising towards this? I guess.
For sure. And I think I'd also maybe just like to add that a little bit is I also want to start trying to place some of those other priorities in some of the forecasts down the road.
Yes.
Just with the timing of when it went to council and then having to have this and then try and figure out pricing, it was a bit challenging. So
I agree. And I think
to take
that-
the time over the next year or so to work that in.
And that's fair. And I think that we do. And, a 5-year capital project is great. But I do think we need to have that 10-year one too, to add to this so that we can have that long-term forecast and be able to plan for those larger items, I guess. Not just recreation, but yeah.
Through the chair, I think that's perfectly acceptable, and it seems like it's a norm at a lot of other municipalities to have a 10-year capital plan, even though the 5-year is the minimum requirement. We can definitely, as we mature our budgeting and our plans, that we can start to fill out some of those out years for sure.
Yeah, and it's really, really good, really well done. And I think, I know for me, I don't know about the rest of council, but this is the first year I feel that we're making some progress, like on our budget, on building that foundation for Crossfield.
Can I ask a question to council?
Yes.
So would you like us to, when we visit this budget again, would you like to see some of those for future year projects built into our current year plan?
Yes.
That's kind of what I was
If you can, yeah.
hearing. Well, we can certainly put them there and see if they stick.
Sounds good. And then I think too, like, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind seeing, like, when we're presenting, maybe say Meryl does all of her stuff.
Okay.
And then Russ does all of his. And I know it's more talking for you guys, but that gives us a good picture per department.
Okay, we'll abort the 1 to 14 kind of way and just kind of follow the structure of the 5-year plan, just how, all the departments are grouped. So we can definitely
That'd be consistent.
do
It
that.
would be nice.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank
And-
you. That's excellent feedback.
Yeah. Any other comments? Questions?
So if you just comment back that, if you look on Amber's report, it does show the breakdown of projects in the certain divisions.
It does. It does. I just like to collectively hear,
For sure. No,
different departments.
to ask across the fire, across the bow here, how impactful is that to you, Meryl and Russ? Does this flow better from your guys' side, Meryl? When you have the opportunity to kind of reset, answer a question, does it work better for you guys?
If council prefers, through the chair.
So this is me just asking, like, I know the mayor said right here, she just said she'd like them all in order. I'm just curious to hear
Yeah.
people that are doing.
You can have an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like this one better, or would you like to do all yours once and then be done?
I prefer to do mine all at once.
Yeah. And for me, it doesn't matter one way or the other. I'm kind of like a lineal thinker, so I see priority 1, 2, 3 and go that way.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're going to see that anyway in your report. So it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I would just maybe comment, thank you for the positive feedback to administration. I would just like to say thank you to Amber. She put all this together, took all of our scrambled information and threw it all into something that you guys can see. So
Absolutely.
the kudos has to flow that way. Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, did you just do that, Mike?
I did, yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah,
awful.
that's right. All right. Well, thanks, everyone.